Matt Miller on the program. Good to see you, buddy. How are you?
Good to see you. I'm doing well.
Look at us at a combine just chopping it up.
Right. Ready to listen to you run off these 40 times, right?
That's what I'll be.
Right?
Yep. And then don't forget the gauntlet. Don't forget those drills.
3 cones, my favorite combine drill of all time, closely followed by the gauntlet.
What is the metric that comes out of the combine that you think translates the most to success for a draft?
Today I'm supposed to say arm length because that's all anyone's talking about is arm length, right?
There's no such thing as supposed to say.
I honestly believe if I could only take one number out of the combine every year, it would be the 3 cone because I do think it shows explosiveness, body control, flexibility, agility. It shows so much because you have to have burst, then you have to have flexibility, you have to have body control. The 40 is great. Yeah, it's great TV. I think the 3 cone is the number that best translates to actual football success.
The vertex, I've been told, is
good
because that shows you the burst, your ability to jump high. That translates to the broad. It usually translates to having a fast 40.
It's that fast start.
3 cone,
I love the vert as well. Vert's a little hard with offensive linemen, right?
That's true.
But you're still getting that measurement. Here's the crazy thing. It all matters. I really think it does. And there are a lot of folks that don't come here that kind of look at the combine and say, I don't get it, I don't understand.
Right.
Why does this matter? It's guys not doing real football drills, they're not in football pads, but it does matter. And especially, now we can historically compare things like arm length, hand size, vertical jump, 3 cone. And if you're a general manager, you're basically asking yourself, do I want to be the difference maker? Do I want to bet on someone being an outlier, or do we want to use 30 years of historical data to help us make these informed decisions?
Right, and that's also with the in-person interviews that a lot of people feel is the most important part of the combine. The medical examinations that get disseminated to everybody, that's another key important piece. And then, of course, there's the on-field drills that'll be on NFL Network later on today. Matt Miller from ESPN is here on the program. Your mock draft, you have Fernando Mendoza at 1. Where does he rank for you if Mendoza was in either of the last 2 drafts?
Yeah, no, that's a great question.
Thank you.
I look at you're good at your job, Rich.
Thank you, Matt Miller.
I look at 2024 with Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. I don't think he's touching those guys as prospects. You could maybe have the conversation with Drake because he didn't have a great final year at UNC, but he was young and you saw the upside. I think Mendoza slots in right behind him, ahead of Michael Penix Jr., ahead of Bo Nix, and even ahead of Cam Ward, who I wasn't a huge Cam Ward believer last year. I thought there were a lot of wrinkles to his game that needed ironed out in terms of timing and decision-making. We saw him improve over the course of the season. I think after Thanksgiving, he got kind of encouraged about his play. I didn't have Jackson Dart as a first-round pick last year. Obviously, the Giants disagreed and made him one. But I think Mendoza's ahead of those guys, but probably behind Drake May.
What's his superpower?
Mendoza, I think it's his eyes. His ability to see the field. He throws such a catchable ball, but that's because he knows, his eyes are telling him where to go with the ball, when to go with the ball. His guys barely dropped any passes last year, and that's a credit to them, but it's also a credit to his ball placement, catchability,
his
understanding.
50-50 throws in the big games for Indiana.
The Omar Cooper throw, against Penn State to win the game. We have rightfully credited Omar Cooper with making a great catch, but that's a fantastic throw as well. It's it's the Joe Montana, Dwight Clark situation. It's like, sure, that was a great catch, but to put the ball where only your guy can get it and understanding what your player can do, that's what Mendoza does so well. He kind of bores you to sleep and then beats you is the crazy thing about him because he doesn't have the biggest arm. He's not the fastest player, but he doesn't make mistakes. And so I think his eyes and his football IQ are a superpower.
Yeah, his out routes, he throws them on time. He's awesome at that. The 50-50, the back shoulder. Yeah. And those were the ones that were the backbreakers for Indiana. And, of course, him running it in was the big one against Miami. And
I look at him, and I see a lot of Joe Burrow, honestly, do. If someone who plays with poise without having elite measurables, but the elite measurable is his mind and what he does. And then also, I love a quarterback that plays better after you hit him in the face. And Burrow did that. The bowl game his junior year. He gets run over by Central Florida, late hit, pops up, and then goes on a run, essentially, of a year of being unstoppable. I think we saw that with Mendoza this year, too. There were times he would get popped, and he seemed to just play better after that fact. So I love that in a quarterback where they show they have a little bit of fight.
Matt Miller here on the Rich Eisen Show. So the Jets at 2. In your mock, you have Arvell Reese. Why do you have him there? There's some others that I've seen with Bailey in that mix. Mel Kiper, our colleague.
Yeah.
Threw Caleb Downs
the
in
Godfather,
that spot
going with the
latest
safety at number 2 overall.
How about that? So what do you
Shocking.
what do you walk me through the Jets' choices here and why you land with Reese?
Yeah, so this is how good I am at my job. I did this before the Jermaine Johnson trade was announced today, because that mock was February 2nd, which that's sarcasm. I'm not that good at my job. But Jermaine Johnson now gone, and I think when you add T'Vondre Sweat, they're signaling they're moving to a 3-4 defense. They need speed on the edge. Will McDonald is a solid player, not a great player. He's around 250 pounds. They're going to stand these guys up. Arvell Reese, coming out of Ohio State, he came in today around 243 pounds. He's fast off the edge, and he's still getting better. He had 97 pass rush reps last year, produced 6.5 sacks. He can play like Micah Parsons and Abdul Carter have done. He can play as an off-ball linebacker, but his future is rushing the quarterback, and he said that here. He sees himself as an outside linebacker, as an edge rusher, and for the Jets, that's exactly what he could be, standing up off the edge, going and getting after the quarterback.
And then moving down your list here, if you pop it back up one more time, please. On the 3rd overall selection, you wind up with Maui Goa going from the left side of the Miami offensive line going to Arizona. Why do you see Mike LaFleur's first pick being that guy?
And I think this is where the draft truly starts, because the Cardinals are a bad team that could go a lot of different directions. They have a question mark at quarterback. They have a question mark at running back. They have question marks all over the defense. The idea here would be to build an infrastructure for 2027 when you have an opportunity to draft a quarterback of the future. You can roll with Jacoby Brissett for another year. He played well enough down the stretch, but Mauanoa could be that right tackle opposite Paris Johnson, who's been a solid left tackle. And your hope is that you are then building that foundation so that when you have the opportunity to get a quarterback, the table's kind of set for that quarterback instead of reaching for a quarterback at 3. There's not one this year that I would advocate for drafting after Mendoza in the top 15 or top 20 picks. So looking at positional value and how to just build a team when you've been not very good, I think addressing the offensive line first is pretty smart.
And now you had Bain 4th to the Titans. The choice of making this trade today, do you think this affects the pick, or you just say Bain is so damn talented and there's no chance Saleh passes?
I think the trade does affect that. And I think with Robert Saleh coming in, so what type of edge rusher is he going to want? Adding Jermaine Johnson, who he had with the Jets, tells me that they want at least one person who has that speed coming off the edge. Bain is not that player. He's a power player. And, right before you and I sat down today, his measurables came in. He came in at under 6'3", 264 pounds, which is lighter than he was listed at Miami. And he came in with sub 31-inch arm length. To some people, they say, why does it matter? Turn on the tape, watch him play, especially in the college football playoff. But that would be the only player since 1999 drafted in the first round with sub 31-inch arm length. And so as a general manager, you're saying, am I smarter than the numbers? Is this player going to be the outlier? A player's never had double-digit sacks with under 31-inch arms, at least going back to 1999 when we have firm combine data since then. So Bain at 4, the tape says, he's pretty good. He's probably worth number 4. But now the numbers are where you start to have those conversations as a scouting department and say, do we believe this guy's different than every other player drafted since 1999?
Is this the Will Campbell defensive conversation?
It is. It honestly is. And Will got hurt this year and then unfortunately had a pretty rough stretch in the playoffs. And now arm length is a pretty big topic of conversation because of that.
All right. So now the Giants have a choice between Ohio State players.
Yeah.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of Ohio. I know you hate hearing that,
no,
but
not
there's going to be
all.
a lot of Ohio State guys.
I'm used to it, and for good reason. They're phenomenal. Just sometimes they should do better than it. Carnell Tate, you have them going receiver rather than Caleb Downs, who might be a perfect fit for that defense on the back end, too.
Yeah, he might be. And I think with John Harbaugh, we could even see them go Sonny Styles, the middle linebacker from Ohio State. So there's a couple of Buckeyes that they could choose from there.
Right.
I look at Carnell Tate as a 6'3", 200-pound, excellent route runner, opposite the speed of Malik Neighbors, to give Jackson Dart those weapons, to give him all the answers to the question. I think that's how you, number one, evaluate a young quarterback,
right,
and then number two, develop them. Dart had some great moments this year. He also had some rough stretches. So for them to find out, is he the guy, is he the quarterback we can build around, You want to give him as many answers to the test as possible and see how he handles that.
So, this is a fascinating part of your mock draft here. Again, for those who are listening or watching right now, this is not the real draft. That's happening in Pittsburgh. Jeremiyah Love, you have him winding up in New Orleans. So many people have just basically penciled him in, if not Sharpied Love in for the Chiefs at 9. And I keep sitting here thinking, why would Kellen Moore pass on an offensive weapon like this guy at 8? And your thought is he won't. They won't.
Yeah. Why pass on him? I couldn't come up with a good answer. You have Tyler Shuck, who looked good as a rookie.
Right.
And all the arguments people use for why Kansas City should draft Jeremiyah Love, those are the same reasons New Orleans should draft Jeremiyah Love. So, why would the Saints pass on him?
Right.
Especially with the younger team. And I would argue New Orleans is a team that's being built. Kansas City is still in win-now mode. They're still trying to win a Super Bowl. Jeremiyah Love is my top player in the class. I have nothing negative to say about him as a prospect. But does he help Kansas City get to the quarterback? They only had 25 sacks last year. Does he help them do that? Does he shore up the coverage, especially if Trent McDuffie is going to be a trade block candidate this year? Can he play strong safety and help cover these great tight ends that we're seeing pop up everywhere in the NFL? So as much as we all play fantasy football and the idea of Love and Mahomes together, it's beautiful. It would be so much fun. I don't think that they're in a position where they have the luxury of taking a running back at 9. I think they have much bigger issues to fill because the dynasty window is still open as long as Andy and Pat are there.
Is Love the guy, though, that is going to spark the first trade of the draft more than anybody else, or am I missing somebody? Could it be Bailey?
It could be Bailey.
Drops, Styles, Downs. Give me the name of a guy that's going to spark the first trade of the draft.
I think it could be Jeremiyah Love. I think we could see a head coach fall in love with Love and say, hey, I got to go get my guy. But I think David Bailey, the edge rusher from Texas Tech, because if you're trading, it's probably for a premium position. It's usually a quarterback or a pass rusher.
Could be an offensive lineman if you really like the kid from Miami.
Yeah, this is mostly a right tackle draft.
Okay.
And historically, teams haven't traded up for right tackle. The Bears flipped one spot 2 years ago to get Darnell Wright out of Tennessee. But
how'd that work?
Very well for them. So we could see that. But I think David Bailey, the year that he had, the type of player that he is, the speed that he has as an edge rusher, that's the kind of guy you would give up draft capital for.
Okay. So, but Love for me, if you're the Browns at 6, if I'm the Giants, I'm I love Love. Let's get him in. Let's just say he's going to be the Sonic to, Scadaboo's Knuckles. You know what I mean? Let's let everyone think we're falling in love with this guy, because I want to keep pushing Love up the board as much as possible.
Absolutely.
If I'm like the Giants or the Browns at 6, I would want to do something like that.
Yeah, and I think even the Commanders are at 7.
7, yeah.
Why
wouldn't they take him?
Right. I can't come up with a great answer for them either. Again, the arguments to give Mahomes a run game are valid, but why not give Jaden Daniels a run game? Why not give, Tyler Shuck a run game? I think those are also teams that are going to have a hard time looking at him and saying, we're trying to build something. We don't have, Superman at quarterback. Let's help our quarterback. The Chiefs do have that guy.
All right. And I got about 30 seconds before the radio audience goes, and I know this is a question that's more than that. But is Simpson in your first round?
Barely. And I'm hesitant. And this week will help me figure out who he is as a player, because he had 9 games that were amazing, 6 that weren't. And you're trying to figure out what happened there. The number 25 starts is big for NFL front offices. He's only started 15. So again, like with the arm length conversation, are we betting that he's not Mitchell Trubisky or Mac Jones or Anthony Richardson or Trey Lance, guys that started 1 year and have had no success in the NFL? That's what you're asking yourself with Ty Simpson, who's 6'2", 205 pounds and has an okay arm and is an okay athlete. Is he an outlier mentally? Is he an outlier in terms of preparation? That's what you're trying to figure out this week.
Again, now I got 2 minutes left. Who do we need to be talking about more that we're not?
Man, that's a great
pound a table.
Yeah, I think Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end from Oregon, is someone that this week we're all gonna. You guys will be watching the workouts
on
and we'll
Friday.
Sit up a little bit straighter and be like,
you
okay,
think so?
did you see that? I mean, right. You were talking about the vertical jump. He could hit 42 inches pretty easily. At 6'3", 245. And we saw it. He's a Kyle Pitts type tight end.
Go.
He's an Evan Ingram type tight end. So I think he's the player. I would have said Peter Woods from Clemson's not working out. They just announced that. I was disappointed because I thought he would be a player that in a weak defensive tackle class that he could have tested well enough here to, make people wake up a little bit and say, oh, this player's great. And I say this all the time. For a lot of general managers and especially head coaches, this might be their first or second time seeing some of these players in person.
Right.
So you do have an opportunity to impress. We're all human, right? We're all prone to excitement and bias. Why not take this opportunity to impress those people that maybe didn't get out on the road to see you play at Clemson or at Oregon?
Right.
This is your chance to do that.
Who's on Draft Daily today? What do we got?
Myself, I believe Louis Riddick, Field Yates, and Jordan Reed.
All right, we all made it. Crew. Everyone all made it to Indianapolis.
Yeah, we've got to get Kuiper out here. Now that we're teammates, we got to get Kuiper to the Combine. He's been to one in my 15 years.
That's it?
That I'm aware of.
Mel's well, what about Mad Mel? Mad
Mel's here. Yeah, that's close enough. Yeah.
Mad Mel cracks me up, man. Maybe get Mad Mel on NFL Draft Daily.
That would be good.
I think he's right next door to you.
I believe so. We're neighbors.
You're neighbors.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, get ready for the future. I think we're going to be working together.
We're going to be neighbors?
Point. I think so, too.
I'm excited.
We are officially right now, but right now, you being on this show, we're already in the same group. So
I love it.
Thanks for doing this, bud.
Of course.
Really appreciate it.
Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.